Hi there, in this video I'm going to show you how to perform the aeroplane and the aeroplane with twist. Now these exercises are designed to improve the control in a hip joint, but simultaneously improve the awareness throughout the body and therefore the ability to maintain lumbar pelvic neutral, and so it's a core stability exercise as well. Now in terms of the anatomy of the movement, we're going to be moving the hip joint. So if I bring my leg forwards in a standing position here, then this hip joint is said to be flexing, is coming forwards out in front of me, and the pelvis is staying still, but the head of the femur is rotating. So we're getting that forward transition of the thigh, that's hip flexion. And what we're doing in the airplane is reversing the relativity of this. So this time, if I just show you the basic movement, the head of the femur is going to stay still, and I'm going to move my pelvis over the top of it. So even though the exercise looks very different, we end up actually in the same position relevant for the hip joint, as if I was just standing here and bringing the leg out in front of me. But the dynamics are wholly different. So with the aeroplane, so called because you have your hands on your pelvis and your elbows sticking out to the side, your arms are like your wings of the aeroplane, take the weight onto your standing leg and feel tall before you start. We want that neutral alignment through the torso, and then as you roll over the top of your femur, you actually keep that neutral alignment going all the way through. So what that will mean in kind of practical terms is, however far your heel moves back, your chest will move forwards the same amount, so that body stays perfectly still as it hinges over the top of the femur. Also, we need to make sure that we're not opening up and twisting the pelvis for this first version, the aeroplane. So that means as you go forwards, you're keeping your pelvis square in terms of the direction of facing, and however far you go, you match upper and lower body in their movements. What's very common in this exercise, particularly when you get to the further reaches for the aeroplane, is you start seeing people bend over and completely lose the straight line that should be present from the head to the heel. So it needs to be a focus that you maintain that awareness to keep the neutral position through your torso, particularly if you end up going into further movements. Now with regards to the standing leg, depends what school of thought you're coming from here. If you keep the leg pretty straight that you're standing on, then you're really going to feel the work being done in your hamstrings, which are going to be some of the chief muscles controlling the descent as you go. You can keep it a little bit bent, and then there'll be a little bit more onus felt in the hip complex. It doesn't really matter which one you do, just make sure you're not feeling significant pull in the hamstrings as you perform this movement, and make sure that you're able to control every degree of the arc that you end up performing. Now, when we bring in the aeroplane with a twist, it really ups the ante for some of the deeper stabilizing hip muscles, as well as the superficial musculature around there as well. So the aeroplane with twist, we come into the position we can control, and then from that position, we roll about the head of the femur. So that means we're lifting up the open hip, and the whole body twists as one, and then comes back to neutral, and then rotates the other way. So that outer hip is dropping relative to the other side, and then coming back up, and replacing the leg back down. Now in terms of what that's actually doing, we're flexing the hip, and then we're adducting the hip and abducting. I suppose it's the other way around. The abduction comes first, and then the adduction to finish. So this is asking our hip muscles to do a very challenging job, particularly if we're going to maintain the quality of this movement. So therefore, with the aeroplane and the aeroplane with twist, forget this notion of having to go a long way for it to be effective. As soon as you come off vertical from that standing alignment, you're already working the target muscles. And we can do the twist from this position. We're opening up, coming back, and then rotating the other way. The further we move, the more difficult the exercise becomes, and the more challenged we're going to feel. If you're able to get into further reaching positions and perform this, you're really going to feel the work being done in that back pocket area. And that's where we really need to focus on maintaining the quality of our movement. But when it comes to the rotation, that's quite an unusual pattern to get if you've not done it before. So just watch out for the following things. when you're going into the twist movement, don't let your heel whip behind you into a kind of scorpion kick or something. And don't feel any tension increasing in your back. Don't look over your shoulder. It's trying to visualize this rigidity from the heel to the body. So it's almost like a plank. And as you rotate, it comes from the pelvic girdle. So you should rotate up, and then that body position is maintained regardless of what direction you're facing. When it comes down, the elbows will match the position of the pelvis. And so you can use the relative hand position and the relative elbow position to guide correct alignment of the pelvis and therefore feeling in control everywhere else. It's a difficult exercise and it's not really linear in terms of the progression difficulty with regards to how much angle you generate. So the further you go down, it just gets way more difficult. So this is one of those key exercises where quality of movement, precision in movement, slow intentional movement, all these kind of pillar stones of something like Pilates are really important. But as I said, the aeroplane and the aeroplane with the twist, fantastic exercise for higher level hip control. And if you can manage to work your way down in the angles where you're at a position of relatively good hamstring length, good pelvic rotation about the head of the femur, you're really going to see the hip game being upped quite significantly, and it denotes having pretty good control of all the muscles which have a bearing upon that system.